Hello, everyone. This is Bill Griffin. You're listening to Different Take Podcast. I have a different take today that's a bit dark. Imagine you're a young person that's interested in a career in law enforcement, and you know a police officer, and you're asking their opinion about your career aspirations. And the officer says, well, here's the deal. Understand that we're going to train you, or you're going to be trained, you're going to receive the equipment, including a firearm. You're going to be expected to arrest people, and there may be situations in which you find yourself, if you make a mistake, not only making a mistake, meaning accident, you could have an accident that you won't just lose your job, you may have to go to prison. This is the upshot of the Kim Potter conviction and trial. Kim Potter was convicted of murdering Daunte Wright by accidentally pulling out a firearm instead of a taser. So she unintentionally shot Daunte Wright. This is according to a juror interview. So what I'd like to do today is to talk about the verdict and the aftermath of the verdict and why this came to trial. Before I do that, I just like to point out and recommend some attorneys that I've stumbled upon, learned quite a bit from watching their channels. Ricada Law, Uncivil Law, Viva Fry, F-R-E-I, Robert Barnes. The two of them do a live stream. There's a couple other channels, Nate the Lawyer and Robert Gruler. There's also several others that I'm not mentioning, but the thing that's unique about this is that they did a commentary over the live stream of the trial. They also did a live stream commentary during the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. And it's very unique. It gives you some insight. You can't always hear what's going on in those live streams, and they do a good job of analyzing, and I found it very enlightening, educational, informative. So their analysis was that the jury rendered an unjust verdict, that Kim Potter should have been acquitted because there's plenty of reasonable doubt. Nate the Lawyer does a better job of explaining this than I can. So I'll roll video to let you hear his commentary.
Do I believe about this? Well, I believe it simply comes down to this. Did Kim Potter make a mistake, or did she not make a mistake? Now think about our earlier example with pedo confusion. The prosecutor can make the same exact argument for charging that person. Did the person create an unjustifiable risk? Yeah, they ran through the stoplight. But now if we take this prosecutor's argument and apply it to the pedo confusion case, the person has a license for 30 years, the person is a driving instructor, that person is taking classes on good driving. That person's never had an accident, pays all their tickets, does everything by the book. And now the prosecutor would argue that 30 years of experience, that doing everything correctly, that doing everything by the book, they should have known, right? They've been driving for 30 years. They should have known that they were pressing the gas instead of the brake. And even though it was a mistake, they should be held criminally liable. We can all admit they mistakenly hit the gas pedal instead of the brake, but they should now be held criminally liable and spend probably the rest of their lives in prison. Now, I understand a lot of people are going to say, well, hey, someone died, people, she should pay for a mistake. And we do. People do pay for mistakes when people are killed by accidents, right? That's the reason why we have civil courts. But not every time someone dies by the hands of someone else, it is criminal. And in this case, I think this is negligent. I think Daunte Wright's parents are going to get paid. I think his family should get paid. I think this person maybe shouldn't be a cop anymore.
So in this case, what the jury was instructed to do, what in the prosecutor's closing arguments, and was to have the jury decide that her innocence or guilt was based on that she could shoot, that whether it was an accident or not. And if it were an accident, that it didn't matter whether she was conscious of whether she had a firearm or taser in her hand. She just had to know that she was conscious that she had a firearm or and taser with her. So this was objected to by the defense. That did not instruction get to the jury. Juror was interviewed, I think on the 29th of December. Yes, pardon me, the 30th of December 21. A juror was interviewed. They remained anonymous because of the case being in the public and out of their safety, and they wanted to stay anonymous. And pardon me, she was convicted. Kim Potter was convicted of manslaughter, not murder. I misspoke earlier in the video. But this juror said that her race had nothing. That race had nothing to do with in the deliberations. That they struggled with the wording of the instructions of what the law was. So they had a great deal of difficulty, according to this juror, in interpreting the instructions, which is a shame that the judge would hand, and of course the prosecution and defense negotiate this out, what the instructions are going to be, but it's the judge's final call, and these instructions were apparently so confusing that they had difficulty interpreting them. The juror also said that to a person she believed, I believe it was a female, well, I'm not sure about what the gender of the juror is. In this report it doesn't say. That to a person the jury thought that she did this, that no one believes she did this intentionally. Considering this, that would easily, you would think, would be unjust to convict Kim Potter over an accident, as Nate the lawyer points out. What is really the upshot of all this is a jury system is an imperfect system. Because we are humans, a scourge of our species is that we make emotional decisions and not rational decisions many times. And this prosecution was politically motivated in a huge way, as in the George Floyd trial. You may recall the city of Minneapolis awarded the family a huge financial settlement prior to the trial beginning of Derek Chauvin. So you have a zealous attorney general, Keith Ellison. I think he was either slated to become the Democrat Party national chair, or at least it was a job that he wanted. He's a former congressman. In Minnesota, you have the mayor. His name is Jacob Frey, F-R-E-Y, Democrat. Ilhan Omar, the congressman from Minnesota. All three of these people are Marxist. The BLM movement is very powerful, apparently, in this state, and This is a political prosecution. A lot of people believe, it's my opinion, that they're not interested in justice for these individuals. It's for a political motive. So you have mobs outside the courthouse to the point where even before the reading of the verdict of guilty in the Kempar trial, there were shouts from protesters. And you have a virtual mob on social media that firmly believe that, or they may not believe it, but they want the public to believe that Daunte Wright was killed because he was black. There's zero evidence to support this. And there were subsequent riots, and of course the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. This all flowed from the riots that occurred after the Daunte Wright shooting. So the jury system is imperfect. We make emotional decisions, and that's what happened here. Now, the jury system is the best system in place of any other system. I think there's a lot of people that talk about whether or not a judge would be, or a professional jurors, or a team of lawyers, or to decide cases, criminal cases. But the fact of the matter is, there's no perfect system, but it's the best of a lot of imperfect ideas. Robert Barnes has said that 80 to 90% of all criminal prosecutions result in a conviction. It's a lot of pressure to convict in any criminal trial because the state has the huge advantage of resources to produce evidence. They have the advantage of going to trial where jurors, even though they are supposed to presume innocence, they question, well, why would this nice prosecutor go after this person for a crime if they didn't do anything? And they can't quite get past that. So there's a lot of advantages to convict, that the state has to convict. The prosecutors in this trial were the same prosecutors in the George Floyd trial. So you have intense media pressure to convict. You have a virtual mob. You have a physical mob outside the courthouse. And the judges in both of these cases, they had to know that this was a political prosecution. And there'll always be a cloud over these verdicts because the judges could have moved this to another jurisdiction where they could get a jury that wouldn't be tainted by having to live in the community. This has become par for the course in Minnesota. So upshot to all this is that good police officers are going to leave. And you have to imagine that resumes are flying across the country to police departments by the good cops in Minnesota that want to relocate. Minnesota also has this disadvantage of very cold weather in the winter. And this is all primarily due to the idea that George Floyd and Daunte Wright died because of the color of their skin. There's zero evidence that either of these people died because of their skin color. Around the country, people believe this, and the leftist Marxist media continues to promote this idea. And in fact, I did another episode where I live, a Gwinnett School Board meeting. One of the school board members, completely unsolicited, offers this opinion that Daunte Wright was killed because he was black. When the jury apparently, and there is no logic to support anything other than she made a terrible mistake and she's going to serve time over it. But the people of Minneapolis are going to suffer. And this will have, I would think, ripple effects. Who would want to become a police officer when you are not going to get the support from the city government? And this is, you've heard the defund the police movement and that sort of thing, but on top of the funding, the low pay, and the danger, you have many in the public who despise police officers and who would want that job. From KNSI, this is a report. Pardon me, this is from Minneapolis, CBS. It was reported December 30th. Teenagers in custody after what police describe as a domestic-related fatal shooting Monday morning in South Minneapolis, marking the city's 94th homicide of the year. It goes on, with just 4 days left in 2021, Minneapolis is only 3 homicides away from matching the grisly record of 97 that was set in 1995 when the city was referred to as Murderapolis. There's also been 38 homicides in St. Paul, which is adjacent to Minneapolis. The real world consequences of this is the good police officers are going to leave. They're going to go to other departments, probably warmer climates, and they're going to get away from, they're not going to stick around. And what you're going to have is difficulty hiring. They're going to be less quality because your pool is going to shrink. That's just the way that it's going to happen. The real world consequences is that people will, there's going to be more crime and violence in this area. And it's going to cause some businesses to relocate or lack of investment in the city. So the BLM movement, the woke movement, the Marxist progressives that dominate the politics up there, they don't care about the people. They only care about power. And there's going to be real life consequences. And I understand in Minneapolis, there were, among those 97, there were 3 children that were killed. It's a terrible thing. That's what's going on in our country this was so important to convict these police officers, or particularly Kim Potter case. It was so important to convict her, but the consequences are really going to be dire because this won't be viewed as anything but a political prosecution, and unfortunately people will die because there'll be less police protection, and criminals will feel, career criminals especially, will feel free to do things that they might otherwise be deterred from doing, and that's unfortunate for the people that live there, and I'm sure a lot of people will consider moving. So that's my different take. It's kind of dark. It's unfortunate, but that is what is the real world consequences to these the media lying to people for years and telling them that something is happening which isn't. They'll deny this. In Chicago, Lori Lightfoot is claiming that, and that's maybe a different episode, but she is claiming that crime is down and that you shouldn't believe your lying eyes. And that's what these politicians will do in the coming months and years as they continue to have power. So good luck to the people there in Minneapolis, St. Paul, because they're in for a rough ride, I'm afraid. Well, that's a different take for today, and I really appreciate you listening. Please check out our website, the platforms we're on, and please subscribe if you're inclined, and please offer any comments. I'd love to hear them. Thank you.